Hello people, Elevate True TV again. Today I'm going to be talking about the lockdown that was announced on Halloween. I'm going to be looking in this video if there was any reason why it was announced on Halloween and what is the true purpose for these lockdowns that seem like they're going to be going on indefinitely. And that's what the people seem to be talking about. Is there a reason for this? Well, I believe there is. The reason behind this is to condition us, to put us in a state of mind where we are broken down in a mental way, break our spirits, and also economically destroy the country, economically destroy us, and make us willing to accept the vaccine when it comes. Now, we've been conditioned for quite a while to accept the idea of a second wave. So let's take a little look at the media. And this is only a very short selection. I bet I could make quite a long video out of these kind of clips. So we'll just take a quick look at the whole second wave programming.
Scientists have warned that in a worst-case scenario, a second wave of corona...
China could get a second wave of infections, especially if there...
Until a vaccine's found, the fear of a second wave of...
Will there be a second wave of...
Second wave?
Second wave.
The start of the second wave or not.
A second wave of...
Second wave.
A second wave.
A second wave.
Second wave.
A second wave of the coronavirus outbreak in the fall.
The second wave of COVID-19.
Will there be a second wave?
We are going to see a new wave.
A second wave.
Look like a plan? No? Let's go to this stage footage and let's see what this interviewer, what question he's going to ask.
Mr. Saxinger, maybe we'll start with you with a viewer question, and this is one that I know are on a lot of people's minds.
What question could it be that the viewer is going to ask?
When will the second wave hit? And that's assuming you think there is a second wave coming.
Well, I think a lot of people think there will be an increase in cases in the fall because...
When will the second wave hit? Surprising. When will the second wave hit? This is what this interviewer knows is on many people's minds. When will the second wave hit? I would suggest that many people were hoping that there was going to be no second wave. It didn't want to be in lockdown again. But in this little staged news article, we see that they are pre-planning a second wave. Now, we're already in that stage because a few days ago this happened in France. Let's take a look.
The wave of new cases in Europe is forcing France and Germany to go back into lockdown. France's president said last night the new spike would be harder and deadlier than the first. Germany's chancellor said this morning that the country's hospitals could be overwhelmed in a few weeks.
So the worldwide psyop is already in full effect and places are already locking down. So it was inevitable that something was going to happen here. And one of the main programming mechanisms that's been used for a long time is this idea pushed forward by the media. Nobody knew about it before COVID-19, but the Spanish flu of 1918. Let's take a look at what they've got to say about second and third waves.
The Spanish flu, which is estimated to have infected a third of the world's population, had 3 waves of infection. The first wave was in the spring of 1918, while the second wave happened in autumn that year. The third wave occurred a few months later, which lasted till the spring of 1919. You can see the pandemic peaked in the highly fatal second wave, which was responsible for most of the deaths. Many health experts have said that history may repeat itself.
So as I say, it's been a pre-planned programming, predictive programming, so to speak, of us to accept this second wave and when it would come. And just like clockwork, on time, because they were saying it was going to happen in the winter time, the second wave is here and a new lockdown is taking place. So what about the statistics that they're going to thrust on the masses to make them believe that there's been some kind of massive upturn in cases? Let's take a look at this. Let's go in.
Projections from several groups of scientists seen by the BBC of the number of people who could die each day if nothing changes. They vary and there are big margins of error, but one model even suggests a peak of well over 4,000 daily deaths. all of the projections are more serious than the current worst case scenario, shown here in black, and potentially dwarf the first wave in spring, shown here in blue as a comparison. And there are fears of the implications of that for the entire health service. This separate document suggests that within 10 days, capacity in the English NHS will be full in some parts of the country. And as the weeks progress, even if the Nightingale hospitals are all reopened and non-urgent care cancelled, the NHS will not be able to accept any more patients by Christmas week. And because any extra measures would take time to make a difference to the disease, the window to act is now for the majority of the country.
Did we hear correctly? Massive margins of error, predictions from different scientific bodies, none of them matching each other. So what are they actually based on? Is there any consistency at all? No consistency. Some people are saying that it'll be 200 people dying a day, and some people are predicting 4,000 a day. How do they record these figures? And they say that by Christmas time the hospitals will be so overrun, even if we're to reopen the closed Nightingale hospitals. Even if we were to reopen them. But why they're not being reopened if we're in a situation where the cases are rising so much? And that's what these hospitals were for. Keep asking this question, nobody seems to answer. Strange situation. Nobody seems to answer why these hospitals are closed. But these predictions persist. Now I'd like to go to this individual, and I want you to listen very carefully. This is the health correspondent, Yu Pim. Listen very carefully to what this man says, because one of the reasons for doing this video that I'm doing is to uncover the lies, the manipulation and the deception that's going on, and the real agenda behind this, and who these people are who are actually controlling this system. Let's take a listen. Let's go in.
Is here with me now, and Hugh, we've now had more than 1 million cases of coronavirus in the UK. That's a sobering figure.
Yes, Rita, and even more so when you think that's doubled in just a month. Looking back to the end of August, it was about 1,000 daily reported cases each day in the UK. It's now more than 20,000. That just shows you how things have escalated. It really seemed to start with people coming back from holidays, school pupils and students getting back to go to wherever their education was. And many people said that was likely to happen. And as we've been hearing, government advisors did say late in September that it was escalating beyond what they were expecting and that action was needed, and that debate will continue. So this lockdown in England will aim to suppress those cases and bring them down. And of course, there are a lot more than those ones that I've just mentioned, because they only include people who've gone to be tested. There are many more out there, according to surveys, who don't know they've got it and don't have symptoms. But
wait a minute, did we hear that correctly? Let's listen again to what you just said.
Of course, there are a lot more than those ones that I've just mentioned, because they only include people who've gone to be tested. There are many more out there, according to surveys, who don't know they've got it and don't have symptoms. But
surveys have revealed that there's many people out there who don't know they've got it and are showing no symptoms. They haven't been tested, but a survey has shown these people in the BBC and other researchers, I take it, that people have got the coronavirus. They've got it, they don't know they've got it, and they're showing no symptoms. And it's a survey that has revealed that. Interesting, wouldn't one say? Very, very interesting, to say the least. So it's this and these kind of understandings and this kind of knowledge that has prompted the Prime Minister to say these words.
In this country, alas, as across much of Europe, the virus is spreading even faster than the reasonable worst-case scenario of our scientific advisors, whose models, as you've just seen, now suggest that unless we act, we could see deaths in this country running at several thousand a day, a peak of mortality, alas, bigger than the one we saw in April. And so now is the time to take action, because there is no alternative. And from Thursday until the start of December, you must stay at home. You may only leave home for specific reasons, including for education, for work, let's say if you cannot work from home.
Now, I did some videos talking about the sixth principle that was being used, the 666 principle I called it, because I believe that the people that control this planet are occultists. You can call them what you want. You can call them Satanists if you want. You can call them occultists. I choose occultists. And in this video, I'm going to focus on the fact that they're occultists. And one of the things I want to talk about here before I go into the reason why it was done on, the announcement was made on Halloween, is because of two things: esoteric knowledge and exoteric knowledge. Now, exoteric knowledge is what the masses get. So in terms of Halloween, we are told that it's a festive thing, we celebrate this, but we're not told the real reasons behind what is really going on with the origins of Halloween and the esoteric knowledge. Now, esoteric knowledge is for the very few. It's a deeper knowledge, hidden knowledge. So let's look at the origins of Halloween. Let's take a quick look.
While Halloween masquerades as harmless, childish fun, it's serious business in the occult world. Witchcraft, Wicca, Satanism, and paganism believe on the night of Halloween, devils and spirits are unleashed. They perform their most hideous and potent rituals on the night of Halloween. Halloween glorifies death and worship to Baal or the devil. Now, we can go back deep into paganism with Nimrod and Semiramis to find its pagan roots, but much of what is done in Halloween comes from the ancient Druids. Halloween began over 2,000 years ago in the 2nd or 3rd BC among the Celtics and their pagan priests called the Druids. The Druids are thought to be by many history's king of the occult. Witchcraft, Satanism, paganism, and virtually all facets of the occult acquire instruction from the Druids. Halloween can be traced directly back to Samhain, the ancient Celtic harvest festival honoring the Lord of the Dead, also known as the Lord of Darkness, aka Lucifer. Druids were devil worshippers. The Druids recognized summer and winter seasons. They celebrated two special nights of the year, Beltane and Samhain. Beltane took place on May 1st and marked the birth of summer. Samhain occurred on November 1st. It signified the death of summer.
If you're going too deep, I love Halloween, and why are you trying to say it's all to do with this? And well, listen, the origins of something are the origins. I'm just giving you the information. Don't hurt, don't kill the messenger. I'm just giving you information. And I'm going to even take it deeper now, because as I say, what we look at as one thing, and what we celebrate as one thing, to others is another thing, because they have another belief system. So we've noticed that there was the Druid principle that was going on. So let's go to this clip for this individual to take us deeper into the aspects to do with Druidism, I think would be the word.
During the time when the Druid priest held power in Great Britain, now the Druids held all power. You couldn't get married without their permission. You couldn't hold any type of official title in the clan without their permission. You couldn't even attend any of their religious ceremonies without their permission. They literally held power over all life and death, and you're really going to find out how in this example. During the nights of Samhain, the Druids would gather at these giant megalithic stone circles. One of the most common known stone circle is, of course, Stonehenge. Just about everyone has seen Stonehenge at one time or another, be it in picture or if they were actually there. Now, Stonehenge, as I said, it's a megalithic crop circle. Megalithic crop circle, that's the UFOs. Wrong subject. But we could always get there. This is a megalithic stone circle. It served three specific functions. First of all, it was a temple complex. Second of all, it served as an astrological observatory. Third, it served as a place of human sacrifice. Archaeologists have already unearthed, underneath Stonehenge, over 4,000 human skeletal remains. And that's just Stonehenge. There are hundreds of these throughout the British Isles. This one, believe it or not, is small compared to some of the others. The one in Avebury is over a mile in circumference. This is just a small one. And there's over 4,000 dead human sacrifices underneath it. You multiply that by X amount of hundreds of these stone circles, and I think you'll understand what the Druids were all about and why they were so greatly feared by the common folk. During the time of Samhain, the Druids, in this example, they would meet at Stonehenge. They had a giant cauldron, a black pot, that they would fill with what you would best understand as an apple cider-like substance. They would light the pot, and then all the Druid priests would go out throughout the countryside. They would go to various mansions, to castles, to people of nobility such as the earls, marquises, dukes, what have you. They would walk up to the front door of these places, and you want to know what they would yell out? Trick or treat, exactly. Now see, trick or treat is a two-part expression that literally sent waves and waves and waves of panic throughout the people who ever heard it. You see, if the Lord of the Manor cooperated with the Druids, he would take one of his own servants or one of his own household members, someone of his own family, and pass them over to the Druids to be used as a human sacrifice offering that night. The Druids would leave you a treat for your cooperation. They would take a pumpkin that was previously hollowed out and filled with human fat. They would leave it on the front doorstep and light it. This served as a ward of protection from all the demonic forces that would be unleashed that night. Now this is where we get into the trick. If you did not cooperate with the Druids, they would take blood from a dead body that they had actually been dragging around and paint the six-pointed star with the circle around it. This is known as a hexagram, from the Latin hexere for six.
So I brought you to the hex, the six. And that's what I'm talking about in terms of why this event had to be announced on this day. Now, people are going to say that I'm reading too much into this, but I want to tell you this, that the people, the Masonic people that run this place, this system that we're in, work in terms of ritualistic behavior, numerology, and they go back a long time. Now, just because we, as the general public, might not look into things so deeply, doesn't mean that these people, these occultists, don't. So we're talking here about human sacrifice. We're talking here about death. And that's what they wanted to program us with. Hex us. Put a little spell on us, so to speak, on this night. To do with death, to do with fear. It's an important thing for them to have us in this perpetual fear. In this belief that we're going to be dropping like flies. There's going to be a lot of deaths happening. But what I want to say to the people is this. We need to really strengthen ourselves internally. Spiritually, we need to strengthen ourselves, and maybe that will put some people off when I'm talking about spiritually strengthening yourself. But the truth is this: the people that run this system, they don't hide from spiritual things because they're using a lot of psychological and spiritual weapons on us. We must understand what these weapons are and turn these weapons back on them in order for us to survive. Because this is a war we're in now. You know, we're being leveled, so to speak. You know, mentally. There's going to be so many people suffering mentally over these weeks, coming weeks. They're already suffering because everything that they know as their life is being stripped away from them. And this is just one more example of further lockdown. Now, we need to understand what's happening, and I hope that I'm giving you an insight into what's happening, because when you're invested in a system that is trying to basically destroy you with lies, then what can you do? If you're falling for this deception, what can you do? Please, people, open your eyes and become wise to what's happening. This is Love I Truth TV, signing out. Bye for now.